Hi everyone, this is Sarah from Little Stab Studios, and today I want to try doing a shorter video because I feel like I've been doing a bunch of long videos recently, and I just don't think that's going to be something I can do for the next few months. We're actually moving to Germany right now, and it's a little bit hectic because we're trying to figure out how this is all happening while we still technically have a pandemic going on, and that the Olympics are coming here, so of course flights are crazy booked. It's fun, right? So I'm using this as a great distraction from my regular life, but I do think having shorter videos will hopefully work out a little bit better. And today I want to focus on getting your grid how you want it, and this is going to be particularly true for when you're exporting a PDF or making your cross-stitch pattern as a printable file, but it can be for your own purposes as well. I didn't really go into depth on this in my other video on exporting to PDF, so I thought that this would be a good one to touch on. It's something that I've recently been doing a lot of with my own charts. And this right here you can see is my most recent free download, but I did add a little bit of backstitching here. It's not part of the actual file. It's just for a test I was doing to show some of the different changes that you can do for these charts. So first of all, I want to show a setting that I have been recently playing with, and that is changing the grid up here. Just click here, and you can show whether it's visible or not. A little bit confusing if you don't have it there, so I definitely recommend that. You can change the colors for both the thin and the thick grid lines. The thin grid line color is standard in kind of a muted green, and you can make this any color you'd like. I would recommend going with something different from what you have on your chart. So I wouldn't go with a red because obviously this pattern that I made is all very red. And I also wouldn't recommend a very dark color, because if you do that, you can see, whoa, it's a little bit hard to see, right? So instead, the thin grid line color, I would recommend something light. And the green is actually pretty easy on the eyes, so I like to go with a light green like that, and then it's okay. The thick grid lines are standard in black, and I like that, so I'm not going to change it. But what I have really been enjoying is the thick lines every 10, 5, or inch. For me, this shows up as inch because I have it in imperial measurements. If you have your MacStitch set to metric, then it would be every centimeter, I believe. But I've really been enjoying having it on every 10 stitches. So you'll see it at the top. I have it in inches, so this is the 2-inch mark, the 3-inch mark on the ruler. But the thick lines are every 10 stitches. And I found that that's a little bit easier for me to follow. I recently participated in Stitch Mania, and I have like 10 new starts now. But I noticed on the patterns where they had the grid lines every 10 inches on the bold, I found it much easier to keep count of. And this is especially true if you've decided to adjust the cloth that you're working on. So for some of them, you know, I'm doing 28 count linen, or I decided to do 16 count aida instead, things like that. And if it's every 10, it's a lot easier to change to a different type of fabric. So I really recommend that. It's kind of a great marriage between using imperial measurements and using the metric system, because you do have every 10 stitches, which is similar to working with centimeters, but then you have every inch for the fabric, which, unless you are only making patterns for people using the metric system, I would recommend going with inches. And I know you're probably like, Sarah, you're just saying that because you're American. Oh, no, I work in metric all the time. And I don't even know how tall my kids are in feet at the moment. It's all inches and it's all meters over here. But I really do, I cannot remember the last time I found aida that didn't have inches on it in Japan even. I bought Zweitgart linen and aida here that is in inches only, and this is 2 metric countries and they're using inches still. So most stitchers do use inches to measure their fabric. And of course you're free to use centimeters, but again, I would say go with the inches and the thick lines every 10 stitches. And I feel like that's a great compromise between the two, and it's kind of like a win-win in my opinion. So I really love that. But if you do want to go with metric, you just click over here to use metric measurements, and you'll see how quickly that changed it from showing me inches. I believe that this pattern is about 8 inches across and 5 down, and it just changed it right away to 20 by 12.5. And then I just unclick it and it goes right back to imperial. So nice and easy there. And next, for a couple more preferences that we can edit when it comes to printing out a PDF or a chart, we're going to go up to the preference menu. And first I wanted to go and, just really emphasize that if you're selling designs, make sure you enter your copyright information here. I put Little Step Studios for when I'm publishing my designs, but you can use your name, you can use your own store name, whatever you decide to use, but it's super easy. Just type it in here, and then you won't have to edit it every single time that you make a chart. Another one I wanted to touch on, here it is. Use letters first and then symbols. So this is to address some people who don't really like the symbols, or who have a preference for using letters when they're using them. You can click this option, and then instead of having the symbols over here, it would change those to the letters that they have available as symbols before they go into that. I personally prefer having symbols, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then one that I was just previewing, which is why I actually have put in some backstitch real quick right there, was this option right here, backstitch lines visible in preview. And so I wanted to check what that was about. And basically what it means is you can have the option to not have these available in the preview. If I hit close real quick and I go up, you will see it is actually there if you go to framed view. So there it is. But what I did over here in this PDF version is I went to export to PDF. I just clicked full key. And then for the preview page, this is where you can have it not show up. And what I did is I selected it to be stitches. You could do none, blocks, or grid, but I decided stitches because that's close to a preview page. And when I made it as a PDF, this is my cover sheet, which I made separately, but this is the view as stitches, and you can see it did not come up with that back stitching I edited in. So just like I selected on the features, but then here it has the back stitching in the chart. So if you want to be able to show your stitchers both the pattern without back stitching and with back stitching, this might be a great option. You could easily do the preview as stitches and have that setting for the back stitching to not be visible in the preview. And then you can get both a pattern without back stitching and with back stitching. So this would be really useful if you have a back stitch heavy pattern. And I think this is something that could help a lot of stitchers out. So again, that is just a simple click under preferences. You want to have it all the way down, back stitch lines visible and preview, and you just have it unclicked. Okay, and I'm going to actually I think I will keep it unclicked. because it doesn't affect it in the framed view. Again, it's only when you have a preview option selected when you're exporting a PDF. So I know I've seen some people ask that question before, and I'm really glad I was able to find an answer for that. So I hope that helps at least one person. So after that, I wanted to go over printing the actual cloth color. So this is an option you might want to select if you have a pattern on a dark colored fabric. Normally, I would say don't do it. But, again, if you've got, a pattern that is designed specifically to be on a dark colored fabric, maybe all the colors are very light, and you want the pattern to show, that it's supposed to be that color, you can click it. Hopefully most of your stitchers use PDF. I'm not poor, but every time I gotta print out something in full color, I die a little with all the ink. So just something to keep in mind. If you do this, it will print out the background color and use up all that ink. So I would keep it off normally, but again, if you want to have the dark fabric color printed, you can click on that. Then we've got the option for the center color. So this is normally as a red, but you can change this. Like my example here is on bright reds. So if I click it over to blue, then it will change that to blue on the printed file, because you'll notice this is an option under the print preferences. And normally I would keep it as that red because I don't usually use those bright reds, but I wanted that, for a neon Tokyo sign. I think it really fit. But then, having the center color in blue makes sense because it's going to be very easy to see. And you want your center line to be kind of obnoxious, right? And you want your stitchers to be able to easily find it. So I wouldn't put it as black because most of the time we have black lines for the regular thick lines. But if you have it as something very different from the other colors in the center of your pattern, it'll be easy for them to find. And usually the bright red works. In my particular example, it doesn't, so this would be a great time to adjust it. Then, when we go down to the PDF import, you can have, when printing, the numbers start in the middle. So this would be, if you want a chart to start at 0 in the middle and then work out maybe in 10 stitches one way, 10 stitches another way. I personally would rather have it start, in the top left corner. So I would unselect this option. And then another really useful one in the PDF export area is remove all unused threads from the palette. And I just found this and I just selected it. And I was like, oh, I really should have done this a while ago because I always forget to remove my unused threads from the palette and then I have to redo my entire PDF. So I just clicked this. And I'm hoping this will save me the trouble of having to redo my PDFs from scratch all over again. So I would recommend this to other designers as well. Please remove your unused threads from the palette so you do not confuse your stitchers and they can easily tell which floss colors they're going to need for their patterns. And then if you make any changes here, you want to click OK, and that will update the changes. If you remember, I did change my center line to blue. It is still red here, but that is because the change that I made was only for the printout option. So this isn't going to show up in this example here. And then another quick thing I wanted to show you, I need to zoom out for it to be easier to see. So this is only in 15%. This particular pattern is on 16 count. If I go up, show you real quick again, I went up to the HPI, which stands for holes per inch. And so you can see, again, I've got the lines every 10 stitches, and I've got 8 inches across and 5 down. And if I decided, you know what, I actually want to do this on 14 count, I can really quickly click that. It makes absolutely no changes to my design at all, but rather the measurements have completely changed. So now I'm going to see 9 inches across, and I'm going to see almost 6 vertically. And this is a great way to quickly change your design size. You don't have to do this, of course, because you can just change your fabric size, as any experienced stitcher will know. Here it is at 18 count, and it's almost 7, a little bit short of that. But it's a nice way just to double check how it would look in real life, and maybe you want to have kind of a standard design size. I know that I usually like to stitch my examples on the same size that I recommend to other stitchers in my patterns. So I might adjust this if I realize in my stash, oh, I actually think this would look great on this fabric. I'm gonna change it. So that's always an option there. Usually I like to go with a pretty easy to find frame size. So 16 holes per inch would be 8 by 5, which is pretty easy to find. And there's a little bit of space on each side, so it would fit in most standard photo frames. So that's what I like to do. But that about covers some of the stylistic changes that I would recommend. So again, this is a free pattern on my website. I'll drop the link below if you want to go download this one. And I wanted to double check and zoom in on it. And I'll compare this to one of my older patterns so you can see the difference. But you'll see that here on my chart it shows every 10 stitches, and this is really, really nice because it makes it a lot easier for anyone who is going to change their design size. Luckily the Pattern Keeper version automatically includes that, but I accidentally unchecked it. Okay. With the Pattern Keeper, it does include all the colors. It shows you how many stitches of each color, and then it's going to show you how large that would be. I selected this on the key for 14, 16, and 18 holes per inch. So that makes it a little bit easier to understand. So I hope that this has been helpful. Again, I'm going to try to do my videos a bit more frequently, but they'll probably be a bit shorter. If anybody has any topics that they want me to touch on, even if it's something you think is really small, just let me know. And I will try to be posting a bit more than I have been, but again, we're moving to Germany right now, so please don't attack me for that. And if you found this helpful, please, like or subscribe to my channel. I just hit over 100 subscribers, so I'm super happy. I know that's not a lot compared to some people, but it makes me really happy when I see I got a new subscriber. I'm like, people like what I'm doing. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you have a nice day. And please let me know if you found this useful. And I will see you guys later. Bye.